You've been told you're antisocial. Too quiet, too distant, too hard to reach. Maybe you've even started to believe it. But what if the truth is far more dangerous than their labels? What if your solitude isn't weakness at all, but strength disguised? The world calls you antisocial because you don't play their game. You don't chase shallow validation. You don't waste your breath on meaningless noise, and that unsettles people more than you realize. Nietzsche once warned that the higher spirit will often walk alone, not because it chooses loneliness, but because the crowd resents what it cannot understand. And Jung might say your silence isn't rejection, it's individuation, your soul protecting itself from the herd. Here's the paradox. The more awake your mind becomes, the more distance you feel from those who are comfortable with triviality. You notice patterns others ignore. You sense the emptiness in their conversations. You feel the weight of words that never mean what they say. And so you withdraw. Not because you hate them, not because you're cold, but because you cannot betray yourself with smallness. This isn't antisocial. This is clarity. Think of it this way. When everyone else is celebrating noise, silence looks suspicious. When everyone else is clinging to the crowd, standing apart looks rebellious. But sometimes silence is power. Sometimes distance is the most honest expression of connection you can offer. You've been conditioned to believe that fitting in is proof of belonging. That talking endlessly means you're confident. That surrounding yourself with people means you're loved. But deep down you've always felt it. That most of it is an act. The forced laughter. The gossip that passes for intimacy. The endless stream of messages that say nothing at all. You've seen through it. And because you've seen through it, you can no longer participate blindly. But here's the cost of your awareness. When you pull away from shallow waters, people panic. Your silence exposes their noise. Your restraint reveals their excess. Your refusal to play the game makes them question why they're playing it at all. And so they label you, antisocial, difficult, cold. But their labels don't define you, their fear does. Because what they really fear is that you might be right. That their endless performing, their constant chatter, their desperate need to be seen, is not connection at all, but escape. Escape from themselves. Escape from silence. Escape from the truth that terrifies them most. That without the crowd, they don't know who they are. But you do. You've tasted the strength of solitude. You've glimpsed what happens when you're not distracted by noise. You've seen how sharp your thoughts become. How deep your insights go, how much calmer your soul feels when you are not constantly performing for the crowd. That's not antisocial. That's intelligence, that's vision. That's the dangerous freedom of someone who cannot be manipulated by applause. And if you've ever felt guilty for preferring your own company, for leaving the party early, for staying quiet when others shout, let me tell you now, that guilt is misplaced. You were never made to belong to the crowd. You were made to awaken from it. So the question is not whether you are antisocial. The question is whether you are brave enough to accept that your solitude is not a curse, but your greatest strength. Because once you do, everything changes. Setup. Stakes. 600, 800 words. The danger isn't that you're antisocial. The danger is that you'll start to believe the lie. The lie that something is wrong with you. The lie that silence equals weakness. The lie that preferring your own company means you're broken. You've heard the whispers. You need to come out more. Why don't you talk? You're too distant. And maybe, little by little, those words start to sink in. You begin to wonder, maybe they're right. Maybe you should laugh more loudly, talk more often, act more like them. This is where the real danger lives, not in your solitude, but in the temptation to abandon it. Because society doesn't reward clarity, it rewards conformity. The loudest voice gets attention. The biggest performance gets applause. The one who can entertain, who can charm, who can always be on is treated as strong. Meanwhile, depth is misunderstood. Silence is mistaken for emptiness. Restraint is labeled as weakness. Have you ever left a social event early and felt a sense of calm wash over you as you stepped into the quiet? Or found yourself drifting off during a lively conversation, unable to muster enthusiasm? You've been told you're too quiet, too distant, too hard to reach. You've convinced yourself you're too much of a loner. But what if the truth is far more profound than their labels? What if your solitude isn't weakness but strength in disguise? In a world obsessed with busyness, noise, and constant connection, you stand apart. You prefer your own company. You find solace in solitude and derive energy from introspection. And while the world may label you as antisocial, Jung might argue that you are simply demonstrating a deep sense of individuation, embarking on a journey towards greater self-realization and psychological wholeness. Nietzsche would see in you a higher spirit walking its solitary path, untouched by the allure of the crowd. But the journey is not easy. You grapple with questions that plague the awakened mind. Why do you crave solitude when others seek closeness? What makes you prefer silence when words flow so easily for some? And why do you resist connection when the need for belonging is deeply human? The answer lies in recognizing that you are not truly antisocial. You are simply self-protective. You are not weak. You are powerfully discerning. You are not disconnected. You are profoundly aware. While others chase fleeting connections, you nurture your inner world, building strength, wisdom, and clarity in the process. Yet this journey comes at a cost. You've traded laughter for reflection, parties for personal growth, and small talk for meaningful solitude. And while the world celebrates those who blend in, you've chosen to stand out. You've sacrificed the applause of the crowd for the whisper of your own truth. Let's explore further the reasons why you are not antisocial, but uniquely self-aware. Number 1. You are not immune to the need for belonging, but you recognize that genuine connection is rare. In a sea of superficial relationships, you long for depth. You yearn for shared values, intellectual stimulation, and mutual respect. However, you are not willing to settle for less. You remain single because you refuse to lower your standards for the sake of companionship. You turn down invitations because the prospect of small talk or gossip fills you with dread. You value quality over quantity, and understand that sometimes solitude is better than bad company. Number 2. You are not incapable of affection, but you express it in your own way. In a world that measures love by outward displays of emotion, you may come across as distant or cold. You may not shower others with compliments or gifts, but your loyalty and support speak volumes. You stand by those you care about through thick and thin, offering a helping hand or a listening ear without expecting anything in return. Your silence may be mistaken for apathy, but it often masks a deep well of emotion and empathy. You care deeply, but you choose to show it through actions rather than words. Number 3. You are not disengaged from the world, but passionately selective about your involvement. You recognize the complexities of global issues and local concerns. You stay informed and contemplate solutions. You are moved by injustice and inequality. But instead of drowning in the overwhelming state of the world, you channel your passion into your own life. You seek understanding, engage in thoughtful discussions, and support causes that resonate with you through your actions and choices. You demonstrate your commitment to making a positive impact without needing to constantly broadcast your activism. Number 4. You are not afraid of silence, but see it as an opportunity for growth. While others might find silence uncomfortable, you embrace it as a chance to connect with yourself. In solitude, you reflect on your experiences, process your emotions, and gain clarity. You journal, meditate, or simply sit with your thoughts, allowing them to guide you towards greater self-awareness and personal evolution. In the quiet moments, you discover new ideas, strengthen your resolve, and recharge your spirit, emerging from solitude refreshed and ready to face the world on your own terms. Number 5. You are not resistant to change, but fiercely protective of your values and principles. You understand that change is inevitable, but you refuse to compromise on your core beliefs. When faced with shifting opinions or new experiences, you remain steadfast, calmly explaining your perspective and gracefully excusing yourself from situations that no longer align with your sense of integrity. You may seem inflexible to some, but your unwavering commitment to your own truth is a testament to the strength of your character. And number 6, You are not isolated but strategically selective in your social circle. You recognize that the quality of your... So you're left with the dilemma. Betray yourself and gain surface acceptance, or stay true to yourself and risk isolation. Society tells you happiness is being surrounded, but happiness is not quantity. Happiness is alignment. The cost of being awake in a sleeping world is loneliness, but the reward is freedom. And here's the deeper truth. Loneliness is not permanent. It's a passage. It's the bridge between conformity and authenticity. It is the emptiness you feel when you put down the mask, but haven't it yet found those who see the real you. Yes, the cost is high. You will lose people. You will be misunderstood. But what you gain is priceless. The ability to live without betraying yourself. So the question isn't whether there's a cost. The question is, which cost are you willing to pay? The cost of losing yourself, or the cost of walking alone for a while until you find truth? One is death by slow suffocation. The other is life by painful rebirth. And though the path is heavy, though the loneliness cuts deep, you will come to see it for what it is, not a punishment, but a purification. Because when you walk through that loneliness without surrendering to the mask, you come out the other side whole. You come out with scars that remind you of strength. You come out free from the need to be anything other than who you are. That is the paradox of awakening. You lose the crowd, but you find yourself. Here's where the shift begins. You don't need to reject people. You don't need to declare war on society. You don't need to wear anti-social like a badge. What you need is something far deeper, the courage to redefine connection. Because true strength isn't about disappearing forever. It isn't about isolation without end. It's about learning to stand apart without collapsing into bitterness. It's about finding those rare souls who resonate with your depth and honoring them like gold. And that starts with a single decision. You will stop apologizing for your solitude. Think about how many times you felt guilty for choosing yourself. The invitations you turned down, the texts you didn't answer, the looks you got when you said, "I just need some time alone." Every time the world made you feel selfish, strange, wrong. But solitude isn't selfish. It's a sanctuary. It's your training ground. In solitude, you sharpen your vision. In solitude, you hear your own voice without distortion. In solitude, you cultivate strength that no crowd can give you. Nietzsche said that the greatest individuals are forged in solitude, not in applause. He warned that the herd resents the one who walks away, not because they're wrong, but because they reveal another possibility of living. And Jung would add, solitude is where individuation begins. It asks where you stop being only the persona, the mask you show others, and start discovering your authentic self beneath it. So the first step is this. Stop apologizing. Your solitude isn't a flaw, it's a foundation. But here's the paradox. Solitude is powerful, but solitude alone is not enough. If you never step out, you risk turning inward until you suffocate in your own thoughts. If you never test your strength in the presence of others, you risk mistaking avoidance for mastery. So the second step is this. Become selective. Guard your energy like treasure. Not everyone deserves your presence. Not everyone can hold the weight of your depth. Look at your life. How many people drain you? How many conversations leave you emptier than before? How many relationships exist only because you're afraid to cut the cord? It's not cruelty to step away from those who consume without giving. It's wisdom. The Stoics often reminded themselves, your time is your most precious possession, and every time you spend it carelessly, you waste the one currency you can never replenish. So become selective. Choose carefully. One true friend who sees you is worth more than 100 companions who only tolerate you. One honest conversation is worth more than a lifetime of empty noise. And here comes the third step. Communicate with honesty. Don't fake interest just to keep the peace. Don't plaster on a smile just to seem normal. Don't abandon yourself in order to be liked. At the same time, don't isolate completely. Don't lock yourself so tightly that no one can ever reach you. Instead, share selectively. Offer pieces of yourself to those who can hear you. Test the waters with small truths. And when you find someone who doesn't flinch at your depth, trust them with more. Because honesty is a filter. The ones who can't handle it will leave. The ones who can will stay. And those are the only ones who matter. This is what Nietzsche meant when he spoke of greatness requiring the courage to stand apart. Not arrogance, not superiority, but the bravery to stop deluding yourself to fit the mold. And this is what Jung meant by individuation, becoming whole, not by running from the world, but by integrating it. Your solitude isn't meant to be an escape. It's meant to be a foundation from which you re-enter the world with strength. So how do you practice this balance? Step 4. Build rituals that protect your solitude, but keep you connected to life. Maybe it's a morning walk where you let your thoughts breathe. Maybe it's journaling before you face the noise of the day. Maybe it's turning off your phone for a few hours so you can reclaim your mind. These are not luxuries, they are necessities, because without them, the world will consume you until there's nothing left. Step 5. Reframe connection. Connection isn't about numbers. It's not about how many people you can impress. It's not about likes, followers, or endless conversations. Connection is resonance. It's that moment when someone looks at you and actually sees you. It's when your words don't just bounce off ears but land in a soul. It's when silence is shared without discomfort. And you'll notice something when you shift this definition. Suddenly you don't feel like you're missing out anymore, because you realize you weren't excluded from connection, you were excluded from noise. And noise was never what you needed. Step 6. Accept the loneliness as part of the path, but don't mistake it for the destination. Loneliness is the fire that burns away your dependence on the crowd. It is the empty stretch of road you must walk before you find the few who walk it too. But it isn't forever. Because when you stop betraying yourself, you begin to attract others who refuse to betray themselves too. When you stop apologizing for your depth, you begin to meet others who live with depth. When you stop pretending, you make room for people who want the real you. And suddenly, the world doesn't feel so empty anymore. So here is the transformation. From apology to acceptance. From draining connections to selective ones. From masks to honesty. From loneliness to freedom. You don't need to become someone else to belong. You don't need to silence your mind to be loved. You don't need to erase your solitude to be respected. All you need is the courage to stand in your truth, and the patience to wait for those who can meet you there. Because in the end, solitude is not the absence of connection. It's the foundation of authentic connection. And here's the final paradox. The moment you stop chasing acceptance, you start finding it. The moment you stop apologizing for being different, you discover others who are different too. The moment you stop fearing your solitude, you realize you were never truly alone. You were only waiting for the ones who could walk with you in silence and still understand everything. In the end, the question is simple. Will you betray yourself to belong, or will you stand apart to be whole? The world will keep giving you names. They'll call you distant, cold, difficult. They'll whisper that you're antisocial, aloof, strange. Let them. Because their words don't define you. Their labels don't capture you. Their judgment doesn't reduce you. You don't need their language. You don't need their approval. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That privilege is yours, but only if you stop apologizing for the depth of your mind. Only if you stop trading your vision for their comfort. Only if you dare to walk alone when the crowd chooses blindness. Remember this, solitude is not a curse, it is a sanctuary. Silence is not emptiness, it is clarity. And being misunderstood is not failure. It is proof that you are seeing what others cannot yet face. The more you awaken, the less you will fit in. The more you see, the harder it will be to play the old games. But this is not a burden. It's a birthright. Because while others waste their lives chasing noise, you are learning the art of stillness. While others drown in shallow approval, you are building depth that cannot be shaken. While others play roles to be accepted, you are writing the script of your true self. And yes, it will hurt at times. The silence will sting. The distance will ache. The misunderstandings will weigh heavy on your chest. But what's the alternative? To bury your intelligence under small talk? To silence your depth for shallow comfort? To betray your soul just so the crowd claps for you? No applause is worth that. No belonging is worth that. So the next time they call you antisocial, smile. Because what they really mean is this: you see too much. You feel too deeply. You refuse to play the game. You are not antisocial. You are awake. You are alive. You are free. And in a world asleep, that makes you dangerous. So choose solitude when you must. Choose depth when you can. Choose yourself, always. Because the ones who truly matter will find you. They will recognize the fire in your silence, the vision in your distance, the wisdom in your solitude. And when they do, you'll understand what you've known all along. You were never meant to belong to the crowd. You were meant to outgrow it. And in that outgrowing, you don't lose your place in the world. You finally claim it.